Well, good morning. 8:15 here in Minnesota. It might be 60 degrees here today. We're in a warm front. Anyway, I'm working on, I haven't been around in a couple of days because I'm working intently on getting this thing patinaed the way I want it. And I've been doing a lot of experimentation. And I did a little bit of work up on the top right up in here, seeing how that had a selection of patina there that I was working toward the crown, and I'm not opposed to that. I kind of like that. But anyway, I was just working in that one area. And by the way, in here, I've got 3 different things going on, and I can just take steel wool to this and steel wool it right back off, start over and come up with something else. I put a lot of effort into the lamp, obviously, for those that have followed the project. And right now I'm working on, I want the patina, I'm looking for a certain color characteristic or look to the patina, and I've got several different things that don't look too bad, but I actually was looking for something that had I'm over here with this brownish, the brownish look with a little tints of this verdigris antique green, and so far I have not gotten that to look exactly the way I wanted. I got close one time, but it just didn't work out. Right up in here, it was there was some green in the metal up in here. And I'm doing this on the inside because this is an easy place to experiment. When I get this figured out, this chemical combination figured out, then I'll, of course, do the whole lamp. But here, I can work in an area of, 8, 9, 10 inches long, 4, 5, 6 inches wide, come in with the chemicals and get a look that I'm looking for. Now I'll clean the glass obviously when I get through here, but there's a browner patina. I like that, and I'm not so sure that which one of those I like. The coppery, here's a little bit of the copper look here. There's the brown, and then if I could get a little tint of this green on there, I'll work with that. So I've got some bronze steel wool that will be here Thursday. And I've been using, of course, it wouldn't be steel if it was bronze, but this metal wool, you know what I'm talking about. Let me get here you go. This stuff, I've been using steel wool, but steel wool, real steel, has a tendency to rust, and it might be contaminating my chemicals and not giving me this green that I was actually looking for. And that comes from this chemical selection that I'm using, trying to get into this brownie green look that I'm searching for. There's a copper plating solution. So this solder, like this is fresh solder here. This solder has to be very, very clean. Well, of course, I scrubbed it all, and then I went after it with mineral spirits, and then I went after it with steel wool. And I'm getting the real cool browns that I'm looking for, and even the coppers, but I'm not able to get this hint of green that I actually was looking for. Not the end of the world. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. The piece is still going to look great, but I was looking for something special. And on all the work I've ever done, and in all the pieces that I've ever done, I just used either a black patina or a copper patina like this, and that was the end of it. But I'm trying to elevate, or not necessarily elevate, but move to something that I've not done before, and we'll see what comes out of it. I've got a lot of patience, and I don't give up. And I have, I got about 30 days to get this thing finished. So if I get the right chemical combination and the right cleaning combination here, and Greg Thomas and Scott Riggs, people like that know a lot about this stuff, have given me some good advice, and I'm working along with their advice plus the stuff that I know about. But, we might as well show all the warts and everything. When you get into this stuff, you're never done until you're done. And so here, normally, this would just be, I'd be off of it. I would copper patina it, and where is that stuff? Here it is. This is a copper patina everybody in this business uses right here. But these lamps, it would be nice for me to get this antique brownie green color. So that's why I didn't even think about this. I went into and this is Jack's Chemical Company. The way this is supposed to work is that you apply this copper plating solution first, And that actually and I've seen that work in here. That actually puts that's what I have over here. It actually puts a thin layer of copper chemically on this metal. And then, because it's copper, you then darken it with this Jack's Brown, put that on, and that works good. That darkens it. Then what's supposed to happen is you come back with the green patina, and that puts this antique-y looking green on there. Now, I've been successful in these prototypes, and these are just pieces of copper, little copper sheets here that I have. And so what I've done is I've taken this copper and tinned it, which would be, here's a plain piece. I melt solder to that. And so when I melt solder to this copper, I have then basically replicated what I have here. Here's the solder. Okay, so solder on top of here. Then I come in with the copper plating. Where'd it go? Copper plating solution. Then I antique brown it. And then I put the green on it. And I like this look right here. Now, that's a little more extreme than what I was looking for the lamp. Here's something that looks pretty good. I like that. And here's another one that doesn't look too bad. This one not too good. And there is a piece of the copper that I have tinned. If I had let me see if, no, that's not going to work. Here you go. Watch this. Oh, my brushes. Okay, I've got a little of this copper plating solution. I'm going to do this one-handed. Look at this. See it turn that copper? Okay. Now, say, well, why are you putting on copper if you want to turn it copper? I'm using copper because it'll tin real easy, and that replicates the solder that I have in there. So this solder that I have just turned to copper is now copper plated. So what I would do, we'll do a little tiny bit right here. You can't really hurt this because I can just, in fact, I don't have this real clean, so this may not work. Let's do this. Practice here in front of you. We'll just take a steel wool piece. We're just going to do a little spot here. We'll clean this up. Now, Greg Thomas, an accomplished glass guy, uses, and I have a magnet here. I'll just brush that out. If I can find my brush. Of course, can't find it. Normally, here it is. We'll just brush that stuff out of there. And we're going to do something here for just a minute. Okay. Then we'll take this magnet and we'll just run it along there. There we go. Here, you can see what I'm doing. And that'll pick up the steel wool right there. Now I could wipe it down. There's a little bit of stuff on there. Anyway, I don't think that's going to be necessary. We have right here, okay, I think this is the copper plating solution. Where did I clean that spot at? I'll turn this around so you can see it. Right about right there. There you go. Okay. Now, that's what you'd be looking for right there. Okay, there's the copper plating solution. So it's easy enough to do that all over the whole inside of this piece. And I'm going to let that dry. I'm just to show you how there's a method to the madness here. Isn't that pretty? Okay, now that's got a thin layer of copper plate on it, of actual copper. Okay, now we'll just let that dry. Now, if you're fortunate enough, like Scott Riggs is in an area, Gail, they're in an area where they can take this lamp and get it dipped into a tank and copper plate the whole lamp, the metal part of it. Here, even with an area with 3.5 million or 2.5, 3 million people in it, I cannot find, and I don't believe there is, a company. Now, there's companies that do copper plating and stuff, but when you start talking about expensive lamps that they have to handle to get down into a tank of solution, they don't want to do that. And I probably wouldn't want the liability of the cost of this lamp in case it fell in the tank or was dropped or mishandled. You know, nobody wants that. So now Scott Riggs and Gail Obler out in California and anybody else that is near a copper plating place that they can get that done, they've got some sort of an arrangement where they've set a precedent and had that work done before, and they're very fortunate because everyone else, me included, has to depend on this copper plating. Well, that looks like that's working real good. All right. So the next thing to do after that dries a little bit is you'd come back in with this brown right here. It's clear. Okay. And what that's going to do is that's going to brown this and darken it, which is one of the prerequisites for making this green patina look really good. Okay. That's no problem. That works. However, when I put the green patina on, no matter how much I put on, it just doesn't seem to give me the effect. Here's what I get over here. Now you can see all the residue on the glass, which I still have to clean up. But I don't get the green effect that I'm looking for. However, I like that brown because that brown is going with my crown real well. So there's where I'm at. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what do I want and what would be the best looking for the whole setup. And so I'll come up with a plan. I got a lot of patience. I don't get upset about anything. If I hit the right formula here, then I'll have the whole thing figured out. It might be, I don't know this, it might be that, in fact, I should have it Thursday. Today is Tuesday. That the bronze wool, rather than clean this off with the steel, the bronze might clean me better. Maybe I'm having some sort of contamination problem with the steel. I don't know that, but we'll go with the bronze and, go down that road and see what we come up with. Anyway, now I put this area right here. Boy, that's a nice color right there. I actually like that, but anyway, we'll see. I may ultimately end up going this direction. But this brown here, look at that. That brown really looks good. I don't know. I might lean a little more toward the brown right now than the copper, but that's the beauty of the inside of this thing. I can just coat this thing one way and look at it and coat it another way and look at it and try to figure out exactly the way I want this to look. And when I get down into this portion of this project, I'm done basically, because if I get the right chemical combination to give me the right, or the patina that I'm looking for, or that I'm happy with, then basically put it on and you're somewhat finished. There are those that spray these after the lamp is done, they seal it with a spray lacquer, and then some people wax them. That all still remains to be seen. I generally don't do that. I don't know. I think just my opinion and not based on any real knowledge, but I'm kind of reluctant to spray a lacquer or anything on here simply because I don't feel like that's permanent. And these patinas will be on here and turn dark. They'll be here for 100 years, easy. So I don't know. That's just my school of thought. There are people that, think otherwise. Anyway, I wanted you to get inside on sometimes the thought process that goes, even though the lamp is more or less finished, this is a real important part of it, and it has a lot to do with the way the lamp looks as it sits on the base. And so I probably put as much thought into this as I have any part of this thing, trying to figure out how I want to do it. But there's a nice contrast right there between a copper patina and a brown patina and this patina over here. Anyway, any way you want to look at this thing, there's 3 different patinas right there. Any way you want to look at this thing, any one of those would work. I'm just trying to go to the place that I think, in my opinion, it looks the best. So there we are. Anyway, you're up to date on it. That's why I'm dragging along here. I figured this thing would be done by Wednesday, but I'm working hard to try to figure out exactly how I want this patina to look. So that's the hold up, if you will. And the lamp's not getting picked up until right after the first of the month, which, you know, it's right after Memorial Weekend, like, let's see, May. I don't even know how many days May has in it. What does the calendar say? April. I haven't even changed the calendar yet. May has 31. So anyway, somewhere about the 1st, 2nd, 3rd in there somewhere, the client will come to take a look, pick up the lamp. And so I got plenty of time to get this right. And throughout this entire project, and I would give this advice to anybody, man, just relax, take your time. If something's not going exactly the way you think it should go, just, you know, back up a minute and take another look at it. So not a lot of consternation here. I'm just trying to figure out. This reminds me somewhat of the color selection. You're sitting in there with all this color and you're just trying to figure out what would look the best. So that's where I'm at with this. Anyway, I appreciate all the attention this thing continues to get. And I've been doing this one project for so long. I look back on some of the videos of the early stages of this thing. Boy, we did cover it from the very beginning, first cutting glass, first, I have videos that were done even before the mold showed up. So we've really covered what it takes to build one of these, and we're down at the end right now. And if you were going to build one, if you were fortunate enough to have the thing copper plated, well, then that changes the program. But other than that, then everybody else is going to be doing this the way I'm doing it. You have several selections. There's about 3 or, well, let's see, that you could black patina this, which I don't really want to do that. I wouldn't do that. And then there's the regular copper patina. And then you could go brownish. That'd be easy to do. Or you can go this verdigris green. And that's where I'm trying to get to, the verdigris green. Whether I actually get there or not, I don't know. But we'll see. Man, it's tough right here. That brown right there really does look good. If you could see what I'm seeing right up inside this thing. That brown is awfully attractive. I don't know. I like it a little. Heck, I don't know. Now, this copper, the thing about this is that it sits on there for X amount of months, and then it turns brown. See, because this up here, in fact, this is real dirty. So I'll apologize for that. But this has turned into this brown, old look. And that would come if I went this copper direction, and it doesn't take all that long for it to brown. And then there's another consideration for going this direction, that my client has another lamp this same size, the trumpet creeper, and that was done with this patina here. And I know for a fact that that lamp is browned over the years down into this, or like that right there. So, you know, you can't go wrong here. I'm just, like everything associated with a real ornate project that's got a lot of parts to it, use your head, slow down, think it over, and don't make any real rash moves. Here, this is easy. I can come back in here with the steel wool and steel wool every bit of this right back to its original. There's an area right there. I'm glad you can see this. Look at this. This is an area right here where I was doing just the brown patina not brown patina. I copper plated that, and then I went in with the brown darkener and didn't do anything else, just to see what that looked like. Now, that looks real attractive right there. So that's another area. So I've got about 4 or 5 different combinations of patinas in here that I'm working with. This is the least desirable here because, look, see, now I got to come back in here with a toothpick now and clean out all that residue around that glass right there. I might try to do it with water, but I don't know whether water will touch that or not. So we're going to clean that mess up. Now, if you had to do that, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who was here watching me. If this was the flyer, and it's not, there's nothing special about this coloration of patina here, and you had that residue, and I know what that is, that's the green patina residue. If you had that residue around every one of those pieces of glass, and I have had projects before, let me get a little instrument here. Here you go. I've had projects before that I had to, you know, go after every single piece of glass one at a time to clean it up. But anyway, if you had to go around this entire lamp and go and clean every one of these pieces like this, well, say, well, there's 2,000 pieces. Yeah, there is. There are. And there's 2,000 on this side and 2,000 on that side. So you're talking about 4,000 pieces of glass that you would need to. Now, I'm thinking that a real mild little brass brush in here clean that right out. But anyway, fortunately, it's not a big area. But that's the kind of stuff you got to be cool about, getting into a mess you don't get yourself out of without, you know, an absurd amount of grief and work. So here we're just cleaning around that little spot there. So I'll get all that out of there, and no big deal. But that's why I'm experimenting on the inside, because I can come back in here, I'll steel wool all that out, take that right back down to the main glass. But we certainly are not, you know, not voting on going that direction. Here we don't have all this nasty residue. There's a little bit of residue here, but nothing like this stuff right here. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I appreciate the questions, stuff like that. And I'm glad you get to see exactly my thought process and how I'm going to cover how I want this to look. I did come back in, when I was working on this here, doing all the coloration on it, I noticed that I just didn't have enough solder down on that wire real good. So I came back and resoldered that. You can also resolder anything here. You just go in with rotate the lamp in a position that works for you, and then come back in. In fact, there's a couple of little spots here. There's a little inclusion hole, that's what I call them, where some of the flux got, there you go. Some of the flux got down in between the two pieces of glass, and as the solder melted, it bubbled out, or steam creates a little gouge there. So I'll just heat the iron up and we'll cover both of those up. And that's one good thing about getting down into the nitty gritty here, is every little flaw like that. Here's a pair right there. Now, no one will ever see this but me, most likely. But anyway, we'll clean that up. There's another tiny one right there. There's one right there. So we'll come back in here and see all that stuff and fix all that stuff. No big deal. Well, anyway, I've been trying to go here for 5 minutes. I appreciate it. Ask any questions you have, and we'll just keep on going. I'll get the formula on this thing figured out, maybe toward the end of the week or even toward the end of the weekend, before I get it exactly figured out of what I'm going to do with this whole thing. All right. Thank you. Bye now.